Hi guys, it's Hugo and welcome back to another video. Today, as you can see, let's talk about my worst reads of 2023. So, as you see in my best books of 2023, I post here, down below here, if you want to see it. It wasn't a great year. I didn't have a lot of great reads. I have some. But I definitely had also some bad books. And what it means a bad book for me is basically something that is very disappointing, because I don't like to feel disappointed, and I only have like 1-2 stars, so that is really one of the worst reads of the year. The rest is just 3 stars, so it's basically more disappointing reads than worst, but definitely some of them were like a little bit rushing to the not so great. I know there's a lot of discussion around this, and we can make a whole video about how important it is to do bad reviews or to do talking about your opinion when it's negative, because I believe as a content creator and something who is reading a review, if I give you my honest opinion on a book that is not good, and you have or similar tastes to mine or different tastes to mine, you may understand why a book function or not function for a certain type of person, knowing what that person likes and dislikes, and you can make a more conscious decision about picking up a book. Now, I believe that it must be done with respect, like I do. It has to be done with just not saying, oh, I didn't like it, and doesn't give an explanation. I believe that we should give an explanation what didn't work. It was the pace, it was the plot, it was the characters, it was what? The writing style, and to make people understand why you didn't enjoy it. So I believe that is important. I will continue to post my reviews, being good or bad, because I believe that the people who watch my reviews deserve, and who follow my reviews most of the time, deserve to know my honest opinion, not only when I like a book, but also when I dislike a book, because I believe they will trust me for that. So, without further ado, let's start with 2 DNFs that I did, and the first one was this Woven Kingdom by Tarafa Mafi, and this was, I believe, a Illumicrate pick. I'm almost sure. Yeah, I'm sure. This was a Illumicrate pick, for sure, and it was a beautiful edition. I loved it. Naked cover, like, stunning. And the sequel was coming up, and I decided to make a conscious decision that when a sequel comes up, I will try to read the first book that I have before the sequel comes out, because I want to make the decision to buy it or not, you know, depending on do I really want that book or not. Not just spending money and then, you know, it doesn't make sense. So I read this Woven Kingdom, and I DNF'd it around, like, what, 100 pages? Not more than that. I felt the story very bland at the time. I was not interested in the characters, I was not interested in the story. The pace was very slow, and then I was like, should I continue, should I not? And I went to reviews. And then most people said that it turned up to a very romance type of book, and I was like, nope, this is not what I'm looking for in a fantasy. I'm looking for fantasy and not romance with fantasy. I'm looking for fantasy that can have romance, and definitely it was not what I was looking for, so I DNF'd it. He went to his way. And yeah, this was like my first read of the year, so as you can see, the year didn't start very well, and yeah, so this was like a little bit of a disappointment and a DNF, because I was trying to expect more. I never read anything by Tarafa Mafi. I haven't read the Shutter series, but I was expecting, I was also liking the edition, but in the end, it was not worth it. The second DNF I did this year, and because these are full-on DNFs. I have 2 books that I DNF'd softly, The Martian and Shaddad Hadid, and those I was like, meh, but I was interested to know the end. The Martian, I'm really taking notes and searching for science to make a full science in-depth review, and that I cannot read it on the bus or on the train, because I'm like, I need my computer, I need to stop, research, write, make calculus, so it's a book to read at home. So, coming back, sometimes, as you can see, my mind blows. So, those were soft DNFs, but the other book I DNF'd was The Last to Leave the Room by Kathleen Sterling. This was a Nevernight pick, and the second. And so far, I'm very disappointed with the subscription, I'm not gonna lie. The first one was Silver Nitrate, Silvia Moreno Garcia. It was my first experience with the author. I was like, hey, it's interesting, I gave it like 4 stars, was not bad, but you know, they sell it as a horror subscription, and I didn't feel any horror. And in this one, I was like 50% in, I was like, so bored. You know, the book starts very slow, very confusing, and then things start to happen, but it's like so dull and so like when it's gonna be like interesting. And I was like, I couldn't. I was starting going to somebody look at the book. I was like, I don't want to read you. I don't want to feel you. I don't want to like. I know I should give you a chance, but it's not feeling. It's better for me. You can go on your life, and yeah. So definitely for me it didn't work. And the third pick of I skip it. So let's see the fourth pick. If it is bad, I will cancel my subscription. Now, let's enter the most disappointing reads. And these are basically books that are 3 stars. The last book will be the worst book of the year, basically. So, one of the most disappointing reads I have here is The Darkening by Surimaya, something like that. This was a very loot edition, fell a little bit on the category of the Woven Kingdoms. The sequel is coming up, I wanted to read the first one. And what I recall about the story was that there is this storm that happened in this kingdom, and it comes up monsters, and the storm I think is growing and killing people and sucking people, and there is like this, the prince and some warriors have like wings and powers, and then the main character's father has like this secret alchemy that is trying to run from the power, the prince, the king, because he worked there. It was a little bit like that, and then because she's stupid, her father is in prison and she has to save him. So, plot that I didn't like. I found the idea was interesting. The execution was very dull and very unimpressive. So, first of all, we start with the romance very early, like out of the blue. I felt it was very rushed, very like, oh, I don't like him. Like, try to be enemies to lovers without any reasons, and then like very caring about each other. I didn't feel any real. And then the world building was very lacking in terms of explanations. I think it could be such a great concept of story, because like these monsters, this magic, it could be so much interesting, but I think it was so lacking, so basic, and so like, oh, this is, and you know, like showing very, okay, let's move on, like flashy and not interesting enough. And then the conclusion, I was very confused. So they enter in the storm, like, because reasons and saving things, and she discovers, like, some secret power, I believe. I don't recall, because it was very confusing. The end was very, very confusing, and I was like, I don't understand. If I cared about the sequel, it was like, it's that thing that I would say, not gonna be, like, on my top reads. Maybe one day, if I'm bored, I'll like, oh, I need something to criticize, I'll pick that book. That's nothing. There's not a thing I do, but I'll be like, why not? But I don't know. It didn't satisfy my interest or my likes. The writing style was not the greatest, but it was not all bad. The writing style was like okay for the YA story there was, but the complexity, I think it could have been longer. The conflict, the relationship, let's not start with that. And I think the last part was very rushed. I think it could be a little bit more explored. Like, much more explored. Like, a bigger book. So, a second book I think was very disappointing to me was The Night Shift by Alex Finlay. This was my first experience with the author. I was in Poland. I had the audiobook and I was like, I want a thriller. I think I have finished reading Caraval at the time. And I was like, let's pick it up, The Night Shift. It sounds like cool. So, it's about the turn of the millennium, so it's in 1999, the first part of the story, like the beginning of the story. And there is like these murders on this ice cream shop where only one of the girls survived, and now this girl is a psychiatrist dealing with. And then something very similar happened, and she starts to bond with the victim because of the professor or the principal of the school knew her, and she's like, well, it was similar to yours. I believe there are some similarities. Can you try to bond with her? Like, you know, like trauma victim bonding. And then she starts to envelope in this, try to discover who is behind this, if it's the same person or not. Because they had the idea of who was the person, because there's like some secret relationships, and that person is, because I remember now, that thing is like wild. So they thought it was something that it ran away from the country, and then you have the perspective, because it's in multiple perspectives. It's like the therapist, the FBI agent, that person who you believe it's like the missing guy. And then you have the brother of that guy who abandoned him. I think the father was very abusive. I remember that. Very like abusive on a very harsh point. And they left. And so we have like this, I believe he's a cop. I'm not sure. Or is a journalist. I think he's a journalist. I'm not sure anymore, but something like that. And he's trying to discover and following the steps of this vlogger who he believes is the brother who is coming back to town. So everything starts to intertwine. What I thought was like, it's an interesting plot. Yes, it's a very well written book. Yes, it's very engaging. I was listening and captivated by that. That's got my points of approval. Now, in terms of audiobook, one of the voices, I believe it's the FBI agent or something like that, was not like good. She was very like dull and very monotone, and like I thought it could be a better casting. Otherwise, very good produced. Like we have different voices with different actors to the voices, to the points of view. So that's my prompt. But I believe that the twist, who did it, it's not brilliant. It's nothing that we can say, oh, it's out of the box. No, it's very predictable. I was like, this is predictable. Like, it has to be Tao, and probably this, and it was. Like, it wasn't a surprise. Like, the end is very action-packed. Yes, it's very life or death situation, and that is interesting on a point of view of action and captivating the reader to finish. Now, in terms of mystery thriller, to be like, oh, it has a plot that you never saw it coming, I don't believe that. I don't believe it was like captivating was good enough for that. So he got 3 stars because of the pace of the how captivated me. But then in terms of plot, it was very predictable. And at this time I need thrillers to be a little bit more different and not always follow the same formula a little bit. This concept would be good, but it needed a little bit of a change or something. It needed something to be chana, you know what I mean? Like, mind-blowing. Otherwise, it's not a bad read. So, if you want to try this, I think is the... Let me see my list, because I cannot forget. I think this is the highest that I will give. So, this is probably the least of my non-favorites. Another thriller that really disappointed me was, and I did not have luck with this author this year, was Robert Brinsley Fear the Silence. So I read, I believe it's the 4th on the Kate Marshall series, and he was like, well, because I believe the problem with the Kate Marshall is because she's a private detective, so the stories are not like so action-packed as Erica Foster, because she's a detective, like police officer. Detective. So since he's a private investigator, the stories are not so chana. The first and the second were, but I think it's starting in the 3rd, I believe, or it was the 3rd that was good and the 2nd, something like that. So it will start to decreasing because it's not a character that you can say has a lot of means, you know. But nevertheless, that I believe this one was even a big disappointment. So Fear the Silence is the first standalone novel by Robert Brinsley outside the Erica Foster or the Kate Marshall series. And we follow Maggie, and she is around 40, I would say, years, and she's a doctor, and she's in the ER one night, and arrives a man with a gunshot wound, and it's her husband. Her husband passes away. She goes to Croatia because they have a home there from summer, and she's trying to deal with things when starts to come evidence and things of the past of her husband that put her in a lot of danger. So there is like this conspiracy theory and this story of power and, you know, like Da Vinci Code, things like that. 2 things. The audiobook was not good. Like, the narrator make Maggie, for me, feel like a 60, 70 years old woman. And sometimes I was like, how could a woman with that age do this and survive? And then I remember, oh no, she's only 40. So narration was not great. I think the pace of the books, it's not definitely what I'm used to Robert Brinsley. Robert Brinsley books are very cut-dry, meaning that it doesn't have a lot of that flourish that some thrillers have to make it longer. No, it's very like toon, 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 and I like that because that make me engage in the story and make me feel progress. With this, I was like, move on, I need more than that. So yeah, I finished because I was waiting for my boyfriend, and he was like very late to pick me up, because we communicate the messages. That I was like, I'm catching the train now, so you need to leave now, otherwise I have to wait. So it was my getaway to finish it, but I couldn't. Like, damn, it's not good. It's like a lot of intrigue. Like the final part is like, you just want to have a conclusion, right? You just want to see that the bad guy doesn't win, because otherwise it's very meh. I have a full review on the channel if you want to see it, but I can recommend. Pick other books by Robert Prince. Definitely will be better than this one. I believe my last disappointment before my worst book of 2022 is The Luminaries, and this was also because of the sequel coming up. So, the book is very short. It's like not even 300 pages. And it's the tropes of, I'm not a normal girl, I'm very excluded from society, but I will learn to do this, that I'm not being trained, and I'll be very good. Although she's not, and that's a good point. She's not good, because she's failed, but it's just lucky. And then it comes to this world, and then this story. I think that would be interesting for this to have expand the lore and not for the sequel, because there's a lot of lore there that it could have been, like, imagine you get a lot of questions and a lot of interesting facts, and you're like, okay, well, you're gonna answer this on the sequel, but couldn't you make a little bit more about this, like, early? Because it would be interesting for me to know. I found the characters very annoying, very childish, definitely. Not the type, it's very young adult, like 16, so yeah, there is that. So yeah, the Luminaries are not like the best book. Definitely lacks a lot of exploration of the world, because it's super interesting what we see, but it's not well produced. I believe it's very young adult for what I want, because there are some young adults that are good and you may consider it interesting, but this one was not. So we reached the time to talk about my worst book of the year, and I'm super disappointed about this one. I was in Austria when I listened to it, and I'm so sad. And it's When London Snow Falls, and I loved the first book by the author. Like, Unexpected Kind of Love was like steamy, sexy, romantic. Like, I liked it a lot. Like, and I was super excited when I got an art for the second. I was like, yes, okay, let's see about this. I was like, is this the same author? Like, nothing. Like, the other one, the relationship was flow with time, it grew, you see the interactions. He was like super rash, like, boom, and love like till the end of time. I was like, not very natural, not very interesting. Like, the main plot was this man who finished or is finishing his English degree, but he doesn't have a job, and then he has this daughter who come from a one night stand with his best friend, and the family never accepted, and then he never accepted also his sexuality. Then he meets this like very extravagant, like, alternative boy who they connect immediately and love and things like that. I was like, so unbelievable, so like out of the box, nothing like compared to the first one. So I was very disappointed. I was like, I finished listening, I was like, I just finished so I could see the whole picture, because otherwise this is gonna be the worst book ever. Because like it's gonna be like the worst book of the year, because no. Like, you go from a 4-star to a 2-star. The first one was like everything so good. This one was like So here's that. Hope you guys enjoy it. Tell me in the comments which were your worst reads of 2023 and why. I would love to know that. If you like my content, consider to subscribe and like these videos. It helps support the channel. Also, I have my affiliate links down below, as well my Amazon wishlist, my Ko-fi as well, to support the channel further. I also have my Discord links down below for my book clubs if you want to join it. I do reading sprints on Fridays or Saturdays if you want to join being productive and have spent some time with someone and being productive and pushing each others to be more productive over the weekend. I try to post at least once a week, usually on Tuesdays, Thursdays or Sundays, but I'll try to post a little bit more when I can. And I hope you guys enjoyed, and I see you guys in my next video, okay?